Okay, this is the 7th grade 1.2 lesson. The objective is for that students will add integers without the use of visual or concrete models. The standards covered in this lesson are 7NS1B and D, 7NS3, and 7EE.3. The book page numbers that you will be using out of the hardcover book are pages 10 through 13, and out of the red practice journal, it's page 10. First of all, we're going to go ahead and review really quick the activity that we did yesterday. We're going to refer to our table on page 8 to help answer the following questions. How can you tell if the sum of two integers is positive, negative, or 0? So if we think about how we end up with integers that have a positive number, if you look at some of your samples on page 8, for example, number 3, we had 5 plus negative 3. If you notice there, we ended up with a positive answer. And when we look at the digits that we were working with, the 5 was a positive 5. So that's how we ended up with a positive answer, because the larger digit was a positive digit. How about for negatives? An example that had a negative answer would be like number 4, where we had 7 plus negative 10. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this one up here in case you're not looking at your book. Okay, so we had this. And in this situation, we ended up with a negative answer. Okay, so when we look at the digits that we have there, well, we have one that's positive and one that's negative. And when we just think of the digits themselves, 7 versus 10, and not think of whether they're positive or negative, if I look at this, I would say, well, 10's a bigger number, not referring to it as positive or negative. So when I look at this 10, it had a negative symbol in front of it. And when we practiced using our number line or our counters, we ended up with a negative answer. So when our digit, our larger digit, has a negative sign in front of it, we end up with a negative answer. For 0, an example, we did one together yesterday, was number 13, and the numbers that were there were negative 10 plus 10. Okay, so negative 10 plus 10. In this case, we ended up with where we had a negative and a positive. Sorry, there's no symbol in front of this, but that means that this 10 behind there is a positive. They both were the same digit. Okay, so that's where we discussed yesterday. A number and its opposite will cancel each other out. So 10 and its opposite of negative 10 ended up canceling each other out, equaling 0, balancing each other out on the number line. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the rest of the stuff that we have here. So the first question that we have says, what is a general rule for adding two integers with the same sign? Well, when we add two integers with the same sign, we can add them together, and the answer ends up having the same symbol. So same sign, sum. Add means sum. So same sign, we're going to find the sum, and then we're going to give it the same symbol. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's look at letter B. Two integers with different signs. A rule for two integers with different signs. Subtract the two numbers. The answer has the larger number symbol. So subtract, difference. Different sign, find the difference. So we're going to subtract between the two numbers or find the difference. And then whichever one had the larger digit, we're going to put whatever symbol was with that. So different symbols find the difference and give the larger sign. An integer and its opposite. So that was this whole 0 thing. They cancel each other out and the sum is 0. So I gave the same example that we just went over. Negative 10 plus 10. They both had a digit of 10. One was positive, one was negative. They canceled each other out. Okay, so those are just some general rules. So going from that, I have a couple of sayings that I feel are very beneficial, especially for those that just aren't comfortable with integers yet. Integers are difficult, but once you get them down, they're pretty easy. When adding integers, the following sayings will help you decide if you add or subtract between them, as well as whether or not your answer is going to be positive or negative. So the saying that I always use anytime somebody's struggling, I tell them, look at the symbols. So look at the symbols in front. We're not going to include like a plus sign, but the symbols that are sitting in front of it. So same symbols. If they have the same symbols, you're going to find the sum and apply the same symbol to our answer. So same symbol, find the sum, apply the same symbol. So example of something like that would be like, here's 4 examples. So here we had the same symbol, 4 with a negative and 15 with a negative. Okay, so same symbol, find the sum. So sum means to add. 4 plus 15, I can do that pretty easy in my head. That's 19. Apply the same symbol. So I'm going to put the same symbol on it. So we end up with negative 19. Same symbol, find the sum. So we did end up getting to add here. Apply the same symbol. So here, same thing. We've got same symbol. Find the sum. So what's the sum of 13 and 9? Well, that would be 22. Apply the same symbol. So we're going to put a negative with that. So we would get negative 22 for this one. Okay, how about the other two? Well, these two, you guys have been doing ones like these since you were probably clear back in 1st or 2nd grade, where you just get to work with just positive numbers. So 9 plus 3 is 12. Pretty basic, right? 10 plus 15 is 25. Okay, those are ones that you've worked with for a long time. These are the new ones that sometimes throw kids off. So if you use that saying, same symbol, find the sum, apply the same symbol, it should help you. So you're always going to identify by looking at your symbols first. When we've got an addition sign, or eventually tomorrow a subtraction sign between integers. So the other that we could possibly come across would be different symbols, where we end up with different symbols. We're going to find the difference, and then we're going to apply the larger sign. So we want to look at the digits as if there's no symbol in front of them, and we're going to identify as if it was a positive number, which one would be bigger. And then, whichever type of sign was in front of that, we're going to add to our answer. So let's go through a couple like this. Okay, let me flip back to my yellow. So negative 4 plus, and this is a positive 15. So take note that on every single one of these, yes, there is a plus sign because we're adding integers. Okay, and tomorrow that's going to change a little bit in our next lesson. So here I have different symbols, a negative, and it's inferred that this is a positive because there's no symbol. So I have a negative and a positive, those are different. So I'm going to find the difference. So the difference means to subtract. So I'm going to take the larger digit, which is 15, and I'm going to subtract 4. So 15 minus 4 gives me 11 for the difference. Okay, so it's 11. Now I have to decide if it's positive or negative. So this last statement helps me decide that. Apply the larger sign. So I'm going to look at my two numbers and decide which is larger. So it's 15 or 4. And no, we're not looking at it as negative 4 right now. We're just looking at the 15 and the 4, the digit. Is 15 or 4 larger? 15 is larger. So 15 was a positive number. So our answer ends up being positive. Now, whoops, my color changed when I looked at my eraser. Now, usually you don't put a positive sign in front of it, but for right now, I want you to do that so that you're not forgetting that last step. Okay, so let's go through and try another one. Different symbols, find the difference. So we have different symbols. Nothing here means it's a positive. Here we have a negative. So we have different symbols. Find the difference. So the difference between 13 and 9, and I'm not thinking of it as negative 9, difference between 13 and 9, yes, 13 minus 9 would give me 4. Apply the larger sign. So when I look at these originally, and I just look at them as digits and not worry about the symbols in front of them, and once again, my color changes every time I pick up my eraser. When I look at those, we have 13 versus 9. We're not paying attention to that negative in front of the 9. So which is bigger? 13 is the bigger number, right? Okay, so 13 was a positive answer. That means this is positive 4. Change my color before I forget. Okay, so let's do the third one. Negative 9 plus 3. Let me erase these plus signs here for now. So negative 9 plus 3. So first step, look at the symbols in front. And once again, I forgot to change my color. So when I look at those symbols in front, this one is a negative. This is nothing. It means it's positive. So those are different symbols. We're going to find the difference. So I want to find the difference or subtract between 9 and 3. So 9 minus 3 gives me 6. Now I have to decide whether it's positive or negative. Different symbols, find the difference. So we just did that, which was 6. Apply the larger sign. So when I just compare 9 to 3, and yes, I forgot to change. When I compare 9 to 3, I would say 9 is a bigger number. Now, in front of that, we had a negative sign in front of that 9, which means our answer is going to have a negative sign. So our answer there is negative 6. Okay, so let's try one more. Different symbols. This says nothing. It means it's positive. That has a negative. Those are different. So I find the difference. So the difference between 10 and 15. Well, I always think the bigger number, not worrying about the positive and negative. So I'm going to, in my head, do 15 minus 10, which gives me 5. So I know the digit in my answer is going to be 5. Now I have to decide positive or negative. Okay, so if you are just comparing 10 to 15, which would you say is bigger? Well, 15 is bigger, right? You're not worrying about that negative sign, but now I have to decide, okay, looking in front of that 15, it had a negative sign, so my answer is going to be negative 5. Okay, so that's working. Same symbols, find the sum, apply the same symbol. It's kind of like a rhyme. And if you practice that saying, pretty soon you're going to get comfortable with these and not have to say that all the time. But that kind of gets you going in the mode of breaking it down. Okay, so let's practice a couple of these. Okay, so we have negative 25 plus negative 10. So first of all, is that same symbol or different symbols? Same or different? Those are same. So we're going to find the sum, which means to add. Okay, so 25 plus 10 is what we're going to think. That's going to give me 35. Same symbol, find the sum, apply the same symbol. So 35, the same symbol is negative, it would be negative 35. Okay, let's try the next one. Oops. Okay, so we're going to look at our symbols first. Negative and a positive. Those are different, right? Different symbols, find the difference. So in my head, I want to be thinking the larger digit, 18, although, yes, it's positive, but even if I had a negative sign in front of it, the digit 18 is bigger than 9. So I'm going to think 18, difference is subtract 9. So 18 minus 9 gives me 9. Different symbols, find the difference, apply the larger sign. So now I have to look here, which is larger, 18 or 9? Well, 18 is bigger, and we're not paying attention to these symbols in front right now, but just the digit. So 18 is bigger, it had a positive in front of it, so we should have gotten positive 9, and we did. Okay? Let's do another one. Negative 13 plus negative 1. So look at the symbols. Are they the same or different? They're the same. Same symbol, find the sum. So sum means to add. So 13 plus 1 is what I'm going to think in my head. Gives me 14. Okay, same symbol, find the sum. Apply the same symbol. They both had negative signs. We have to apply that symbol. So we should have gotten negative 14. Hopefully all my answers are right here and I don't have them messed up. Let's do one more, and then I'm going to leave 4 for you guys to do on your own. Okay, positive 15 plus negative 8. So when I look at the symbols, a positive sign and a negative sign, different symbols find the difference. So I need to think in my head 15 minus 8. So remember, no matter what, which one was positive, which one was negative, the larger digit is the one you always put in the front. Okay, that's just to get what our digit is for the answer. So 15 minus 8 gives me 7. So I know the digit in my answer is 7. Now I have to decide if it's a positive 7 or a negative 7. So when I look at these, I'm looking at the digits, 15 compared to 8, not worrying about the symbols in front. And I would say 15 is bigger. So it had a positive sign, so it's a positive 7. Hopefully I have this right. And it is. Okay, so I'm going to shift these out of the way, and I'm going to have you guys do these next 4. Oops. Doesn't want to erase for me. Okay, try these. Oh, whoa. Now you can see what I had to do my thing. Okay, so go ahead and try those. Pause the video so that you've got time to work through them, because I will go through the answers here in just a second. Okay, so these answers out of the way so that they're not messing me up. Okay, so for 18 plus negative 23, you should have gotten negative 5. For negative 17 plus negative 13, they have the same symbol, so I know that the answer is going to be negative. They should just apply the same symbol. You should have gotten negative 30. Is that right? Did I do that right? Yeah. For the next one, positive 14 plus negative 14. Hey guys, there's that number and it's opposite, so they cancel each other out. We should get 0. And my little link together came apart, so we got 0. And negative 23 plus 11, different symbols find the difference. So we subtract them, we should get 12. And then apply the larger sign, so 23 was larger, it had a negative sign, so negative 12. So hopefully you did really well on those. Okay, so sometimes we're going to come across problems where we have more than 2 integers. All of the ones that we've practiced so far only have the 2 integers. So whenever we're adding more than 2 integers, we want to combine the integers that are alike, then use the sayings from before to finish solving. So if I go through, hopefully I have this, it says to touch, and I can't remember what I did with this for my touch, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my markers here. So when I look at this problem, this is what I do. I go ahead and I'm very visual, so I like to kind of circle ones that have the same symbol, okay, because here's a positive and here's a positive. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put those together. So same symbols find the sum. So I'm going to add them together. 7 plus 9 gives me 16. Okay, and I'm going to apply the same symbol. So I have a positive 16 for that part. Then this is what's left over. There's nothing for me to combine this negative 1 with right now to simplify it. So we're going to go ahead and just do the plus negative 1. Okay, so now we're back to what we were just doing on the previous slide. See, now we're down to 2 numbers. So we've got different symbols. Okay, when I look at these different symbols, find the difference. So the difference would be 16 minus 1 would give me 15. Apply the larger sign. The larger number is a 16 and it had a positive answer, so it's positive 15. Oops. And just for today, I am going to go ahead and put that positive sign in front of it, just so that I'm not forgetting that last step. When you're first going through and learning how to work with integers, once you get comfortable with identifying what the digit is, kids forget to go back and decide was it positive or negative. So even with your positives, at least for as we're just starting to learn these, go ahead and put that positive sign in there. Doesn't want to erase. I don't know what's going on there. So we're going to delete this quick. Delete. Okay, so let's try another one. Okay, so the first thing I do when I look at this, I'm going to use purple. Purple's like my favorite color. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and look at this. I see a positive here, and it has a match of a positive here. Okay, so same symbol, find the sum. So 9 would be the sum of 7 plus 2. So now I'm going to look at it like this. Positive 9 plus, and then I had a negative 3 left over because there was nothing to group this 3 with, right? And we'll eventually get to some that have more than just 3. Okay, so now different symbols. Find the difference. So difference is to subtract. So 9 is the bigger digit. Don't worry about the positive. So 9 minus 3 gives me 6. For the digit, now I have to decide is it positive or negative. So different symbols, find the difference, apply the larger sign. 9's a larger number. It had the sign of a positive, so it's a positive 6. Okay, and I know, yes, you can do these on a calculator, but I will tell you right now, if you get those basics down, you're not going to have to rely on a calculator, and it's not going to take you long to answer problems that are using integers. It'll take you more time to find these plus signs and negative signs and how to punch them in on your calculator than if you just sat down and understood how to break them apart. Okay, they're actually very easy if you practice them. Okay, you just have to practice them. You're going to get really good at them if you practice them. I'm going to pull one of these from down below and see if I maybe put more than 3. No, I didn't. I still stuck with 3. Okay, so here, let's see. Ones that have the same symbols. It's like a matching game. I like to match them together, group them together. Negatives. There's a negative 9 and a negative 3. So those have the same symbol. I'm going to find the sum. So 9 plus 3 gives me 12. And they had applied the same symbol. So negative. They were both 12 plus 7. Positive 7, whatever. And notice, I did rearrange the order. When you are adding, you can change the order. When you're subtracting, you can't. But when we're working with integers, keep in mind that we are working integers, which are positive and negative numbers. You can use commutative property and rearrange them. Just make sure that you keep the symbol that is in front of the digit with it, okay? So when I did this, I didn't just write 12 and then leave the negative laying somewhere else. I had to bring that negative with the 12, okay? So now when I go through and I do this, let's see, these now have different symbols, a negative and a positive. Find the difference. So the difference between 12 and 7, I'm going to think in my head of 12 minus 7. Difference is subtraction. I get 5. Now, different symbols, find the difference, apply the larger sign. When I compare these two numbers, 12 and 7, 12 is a bigger digit. It had a negative sign, so my answer is going to be negative 5. Okay, so I'm going to pull 2 out for here for you to do. I want you to go ahead and pause your video, try them out, and then check your answers in just a minute. Okay, so try those ones out. Remember, your sayings are same sum, same symbol, find the sum, apply the same symbol. Different symbols, find the difference, apply the larger sign. So I always start with finding those sayings to make it easier. So chunk them together, find the ones that have the same symbol first, which means you're always going to add in that first step. And then if you're only working with the 3 numbers, then you subtract in the second step. Go ahead, pause your video and work through these. Okay, one thing I'm noticing on the first one, when you look at negative 8 plus positive 7 plus negative 7 is, yes, I could put my negatives together, and I'll do that. And then I'm going to go through and show you another thing that I noticed as I was doing this, and I'm sure some of you noticed it also. But because you're practicing those, let's group them together. Here's a negative, and here's a negative. So when I put those together, they have the same symbol. I'm going to find the sum. So the sum is 15. Apply the same symbol. So it was really negative 15 plus a positive 7. And when I do that, these now have different symbols. Find the difference. So that's the difference would be 8. And apply the larger sign. 15 versus 7. Whoops, I covered up my 1. Well, 15 is bigger. It had a negative sign. So you should have gotten negative 8. Maybe some of you noticed a number and its opposite. So here I had positive 7 and negative 7. And remember what happens when you have a number and its opposite? They cancel each other out. It'd be like saying plus 0. So negative 8 plus 0 would still give us negative 8. So if you're seeing those shortcuts, by all means, take those shortcuts. Okay, the older you're gonna get, your brain's gonna start to see some of those things and save you some steps. Okay, so if we look at the second one that you guys had, I am seeing a set where I've got positives. So same symbol, find the sum. So it's always gonna be adding in that first step. So if I add 9 plus 7, it gives me 16. Positive, I'm gonna put that on there. And then plus a negative 8. Okay, now we have different symbols. So that second step is always going to be to find the difference. So the difference between 16 and 8 is like saying 16 minus 8, or whatever the larger digit is. So 16 minus 8 is going to give me 8. Different symbols, find the difference, apply the larger sign. So when I look at these, the larger digit was 16. It had a positive sign, so positive. Okay. And a lot of you are going to get past those sayings in a real quick hurry, but some of you might need to keep doing those things. Eventually, you're going to get very comfortable with solving these and not having to think step by step. Okay, the last part in this section is evaluation. When evaluating an expression, you must substitute in the value of each letter. The key thing is, we won't come across this today, but we will in future lessons, that you have to remember whatever symbols were in that expression originally have to stay there. You do not get to get rid of them. Now today we're not going to have to worry about that, but tomorrow in lesson 3, we're going to start working with some subtraction, and it's very vital that you remember that though that subtraction sign still has to stay. Okay, even when you're substituting in and a number had a negative sign, you have to keep it. But for today, we're just going to go ahead and do basic substitution. So here, I have for A, well, A was worth 4. So I'm going to substitute a 4 in there. I'm going to just go ahead and bring my plus sign. And now B was negative 5. So plus negative 5. By golly, that looks like something that we've been doing. So now if I look at these, this is a positive 4 inferred because there's no number or no symbol there. And a negative, those are different symbols. Find the difference. So the difference is 1. Apply the larger sign. 5 is a larger digit, it had a negative sign, so our answer would be negative 1. So we're adding one step to what you were just doing, and that's by substituting in the number for the letter. And they're going to tell us what the number is for each letter. We don't have to solve that right now. As we get older, we might have to solve and find out what a certain letter is. So let me see what I had here. Oh, I already went over that verbally. Just if symbols are present, you have to remember to keep those there. So let's try another one. Shift off. Bye-bye. Okay, so let's try B plus C. So basic substitution. Here's my B. It's negative 5. So negative 5. Plus my C is negative 8. So plus a negative 8. So I'm going to look at the symbols just like we were doing before. Negative, negative, same symbol. Find the sum. So I'm going to sum, or I'm going to add them together, the digits. 8 plus 5 is 13. Same symbol, find the sum, apply the same symbol. They both had negative symbols. We should have gotten negative 13. Okay, so I'm going to pull 2 out here, and I'm going to have you guys work on those. I'm going to shift this up a little bit so I can bring both of those out at the same time. All right, so here's the first one. And in that one, we already had a number. Ooh, that second one's working absolute value that we worked back in lesson 1. So remember, these mean absolutely how far is that answer. Okay, everything's inside the absolute value. So you're going to go ahead and solve it like you normally would. And then just remember, if they want to know what the absolute value of that was. So go ahead, pause your video, and work your way through these 2 problems. Oops. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through these. Hopefully you paused the video and had time to kind of work through it. So I'm going to do my substituting in. So A was 4 plus C was negative 8. So I'm going to put that in a parenthesis just so it doesn't look so confusing. Plus this I'm just going to carry down, negative 4. Okay, they didn't put a letter there. Okay, so now when I look at this, kind of like we learned on the previous slide, I'm going to find the ones that are the same. So same symbol, find the sum. So 12, apply the same symbol, negative, plus positive 4. So I'm just going to write 4. So now they're different symbols. This is positive versus negative. Different symbols, find the difference. So 12 minus 4. So 12 minus 4 is 8. That's my difference in the digits. Apply the larger sign. So when I look, 12 is the bigger digit. It had a negative sign, so my answer is going to have a negative on it. So you should have gotten negative 8 for that one. And for the next one down, we have to go through and substitute everything in. So 4 for A, plus B was negative 5, plus C was negative 8. Okay, and I don't want to forget that in the end, I have to find the absolute value once I get this answer. Okay, so put these two together, because they both have negatives. So that gives me negative 13 here. And I had a positive 4, so now they're different. So if I find the difference between those, the difference between 13 and 4, subtract between them would give me 9. Okay, now I'm going to look to decide if it's positive or negative. The larger digit had a negative symbol, so it's negative 9. Now I need the absolute value of that. And some of you might have forgotten to do that last step. So the absolute value of negative 9. Absolutely, how far is negative 9 from 0 on the number line? That would be 9 places away. Okay, so they're throwing in a little bit of stuff from lesson 1. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and finish out the lesson. Just check with me to see what your homework is if you weren't here. So thank you.